Hey guys, where's Jackie? There she is. Yay. Do you got the presentation for me?
I do.
Okay. Thanks. All right, guys, welcome to VA Claims Veterans, Helping Veterans. Want to just give a shout out again. Steph, Jackie, and Blake are here. We're going to do presentation today on the PACT Act bill, and kind of wait and give people a few minutes to get on, see where everybody's from, and then we'll give a few announcements, and then we'll kind of get started. So we'll give everybody a few minutes just to kind of get on and see. We don't have any comments. We will just roll with it and let people jump on. The other thing we're doing tonight, we're going to be doing the t-shirt giveaway. It's the veterans shirt. And tonight, if you're on, you need to use that hashtag for the Marine Corps birthday, 247. Yes, the Marine Corps birthday is tomorrow. So you'll have to put that in the comment section, and we'll make sure at the end, stay tuned, and we'll do a drawing, and we'll go from there. So I'm not seeing any comments, so I guess we're just gonna.
Is there a way that we can see who's in the?
I see Peggy's on, but maybe we give it a few minutes, and kind of hold off and see where everybody's. We're starting to get some people jump on, so maybe we'll just give it a few minutes and whatnot and see. And don't forget, guys, to, if you haven't, subscribe to my YouTube channel and join our Facebook group as well. This presentation will be on the YouTube channel for you to go back and watch if you missed anything. In our Facebook group, we'll also, I think Jackie's going to give a list of links and stuff, and we'll provide that in the feature tab of the Facebook group, and go from there. Hey, Steve and Pam, thanks for joining. We appreciate it. I know, Steve, you guys might have jumped on a little later, but we're doing the giveaway again for the shirt. So if you guys want to get a shirt at the end, just put the hashtag Marine Corps, well, MCB for Marine Corps birthday 247 in the comments, and then we'll do the spin at the end of the presentation for the drawing for the shirt. And hi, Donald. Hi, Jeff. And hi, Daniel. Thanks for joining. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a big presentation here. We're going to do it tonight about the PACT Act bill. So Jackie's put a great presentation together. Blake and I are going to jump in here for a few, but we're going to get started with it right now, and we'll go from there.
All right. So tonight, obviously, we're going to discuss the Sergeant First Class FSC Heath Robinson honoring our promise to address the Comprehensive Toxics PACT Act of 2022. This law is named for Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was an Ohio Army National Guardsman who was diagnosed with rare cancer after his service. During his service, he was exposed to toxic exposures and substances from burn pits. He died in 2020, leaving behind his wife and his 8-year-old daughter. And his wife tirelessly advocated for these changes to be made. So the PACT Act overview. The Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson honoring our promise to address comprehensive toxics PACT Act of 2022 is also known as honoring our PACT Act of 2022, and many simply refer to it as the PACT Act. It implements public law PL 117-168, and it helps the VA provide health care and benefits to veterans and their survivors. The promise to address comprehensive toxics, which is PACT Act, is a historic new law that will help the VA provide care and benefits to millions of toxic exposed veterans and their survivors. Since President Biden signed the PACT Act into law on August 10, 2022, the VA has been hard at work on implementing the landmark legislation, and veterans have already begun to apply for the benefits they've earned and deserved. So just a simple overview of the PACT Act. It expands VA healthcare eligibility to post 9/11 combat veterans. It adds more than 20 burn pit and toxic exposure related conditions. It expands presumptions related to Agent Orange exposures and strengthens federal research on toxic exposures, and it improves the VA's resources dependent on toxic exposed veterans. It also works to improve and expedite processes within the VA to ensure all toxic exposed veterans can fully access VA healthcare and benefits. And it also expands the hiring and training of claims processors and healthcare providers to accommodate a significant increase to accommodate veteran claims.
Jackie, real quick, you've got a really bad echo.
Yeah. Oh, people are saying there's a pretty bad echo going on.
Okay.
I wonder.
How about now?
The people listening right now, I know, Peggy, you just said that there seemed to be an echo. Do you still hear the echo when Jackie's talking?
So if I was talking right now, I can kind of hear a little bit of an echo, but not so much. Is that better now?
Not really.
Okay.
Good now. Jeff just said good now. I don't hear the echo either. Peggy says it's better. So go ahead. Keep rolling, Jackie.
Okay. So for expansion of healthcare eligibility, obviously you can read the screen, but this will expand healthcare eligibility beginning in October. So beginning on October 1st of this year, the VA expanded and extended eligibility for VA healthcare for certain veterans of the Gulf Wars and post 9/11 era. This expansion increased healthcare eligibility for hundreds of thousands of toxic exposed veterans. Additionally, VA has already expanded healthcare eligibility for certain veterans of the Vietnam War. More detailed information about this expansion can be found on va.gov/PACT. So for eligibility for exposures to burn pits and other specific environmental hazards, there are certain criteria that must be met. What does it mean to have a presumptive condition for toxic exposures? To get a VA disability rating, your disability must connect to your military service. For many health conditions, you need to prove that your service condition or your service, active duty service, caused your condition. But for some conditions, we automatically assume or presume that your service caused your condition. And this is what we call presumptive conditions. We consider a condition presumptive when it's established by a law or regulation. If you have a presumptive condition, you don't need to prove that your service caused the condition. You only need to meet the service requirements for the presumption. All right, so for exposure to burn pits or other toxins, we talked about this in our video last week, so I'm not gonna, or a couple weeks ago, so I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. Basically, under the provisions of 38 CFR 3317, this is what qualifies under Gulf War functions. Please note, official amendments or introduction of new regulatory guidances, such as CFRs, have not been published to date regarding the PACT Act. this is going off the old CFR, which most likely will just be updated, which defines the area of Southwest Asia theater of operations from August 2nd, 1990. This is expected to be changed. Is anybody else complaining about the outgoing stuff? Is it better?
It's good. You're good.
Okay, great. So exposure to burn pits or other toxins, one of the big changes that has happened is where the VA has added locations. Nothing has been released in regard to an earlier effective date for presumptives for this. So at this point, we're just going to assume that's going to remain September 19, 2001. But on top of Afghanistan, Syria, Djibouti, and Uzbekistan, we're going to add Egypt, Yemen, Lebanon, and Jordan as presumptive areas.
So before the PACT Act, as far as respiratory goes, the only three that were presumptive diagnoses was rhinitis, sinusitis, and asthma. All of these that have asterisks by them are now considered presumptive. And some of them actually have criteria in the CFR they can be filed under. Some of them, such as chronic bronchitis, right now, we don't have guidelines exactly what the definition or what the criteria to meet for a chronic bronchitis is yet. But all of these others are actually there and listed out. For example, even if you were a smoker and have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, it's still considered presumptive if you were exposed.
Thank you, Blake. So everything that has an asterisk or is underlined here are new under, like Blake said, CFR 3.320 tentatively. Again, we have to wait for the new guidance to come out.
There are a number of conditions that are not listed, but most of those have very specific causes. Asbestosis would be one of them, and that's strictly from exposure to asbestos, which I don't believe has been documented in any of these areas.
Right, and that's under the interstitial lung disease, right, Blake?
Right. There are a number of interstitial type of fibrosis and things that may be rheumatologically in nature that aren't included with this.
Okay, great, thank you. And then another, so prior to the PACT Act, only the following rare respiratory cancers were considered presumptive under 38 CFR 3.20. To go through them real quick, squamous cell carcinoma of the larynx, adenocarcinoma of the trachea, adenocarcinoma of the trachea, salivary gland type tumor of the trachea to become an atypical carcinoma of the lungs, salivary gland type 2 of the trachea, large cell carcinoma of the lungs, sacramatoid carcinoma of the lung, squamous cell carcinoma of the trachea. So these are very specific cancers. And as you can see from what was passed under the PACT Act, there's a lot more of an inclusive list of what they're going to include. For example, it says head cancer of any type or respiratory cancer of any type. The VA will be forthcoming with more guidance on this, but for now, this is what was actually written into law. So if a claimant with qualifying service includes a cancer condition on their claim, liberal consideration may be used to determine if the cancer falls into one of these categories. For example, a claim for breast cancer may qualify as a type of reproductive cancer. And again, VBA is currently developing formal policy incorporating a new law, which will include further definition of the qualifying diagnoses.
Yeah, pretty much any of those cancers are going. Any cancer is going to fall into one of those categories.
So what if my condition or active duty service location isn't listed here? You can still apply for disability compensation if your condition or service isn't listed. You'll need to submit more evidence to show how your condition connects to your service. So basically what this is saying is the burden of evidence is on you, but if you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a location not listed in these CFRs caused a condition not listed on these CFRs, you may be entitled for service connection and benefits and home care. And then we did touch on this a couple of weeks ago, so we're going to very briefly go over it. Again, because it applies to the PACT Act, and it's what is a MUCME? MUCME is a medically unexplained chronic multi-symptom illness in which there is a diagnosed or undiagnosed illness that has the problems with either an inconclusive etiology or inconclusive pathophysiology, overlapping symptoms or signs, or features such as pain, disability out of proportion to physical findings, or inconsistent demonstration of laboratory findings. So this is generally widely recognized as conditions such as chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or functional gastro disorders.
Okay, we're going to touch on a few of these things here. Gastrointestinal signs and symptoms. This is basically diagnosed as those things that are not structural in nature, like ulcerative colitis or bowel obstruction, things like that. Most of this falls under your irritable bowel symptom, your dumping disorders, those kind of chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation. Those can all fall under the chronic disabilities, whereas things that are actually structurally wrong with the digestive system do not.
And then, so for structural gastrointestinal diseases, like if you just want to touch on what's structural and what's not.
Well, like I said, structural would be anything that is actually physically there, not a sign or not a symptom or a sign. Diarrhea would be a symptom. An actual a bowel obstruction from anything like a twisted bowel, that's structural. The actual structure of the bowel has been altered. An ulcer would not fall under this. That's a structural issue. Ulcerative colitis or wouldn't, but like I said, irritable bowel, which comes with many signs and symptoms, would all fall under that, as long as and a lot of that are things that are what we call a diagnosis of exclusion. Once we find out what it's not, then we call it irritable bowel.
Great, thank you. All right, so what is not considered is a MUCME would be diabetes, multiple sclerosis, sleep apnea, and then, like Blake said, structural gastro issues like colitis or hiatal hernia. And And then, so next slide. So how does the PACT Act change the MUCMEs and undiagnosed illnesses? So basically, so this is really great change. It expands the definition of what a Persian Gulf War veteran is. So basically, VA is going to extend this to Afghanistan and the other countries that we had mentioned in a previous slide, which is huge because as of right now, so many veterans deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom to Afghanistan that they can't get service connection for these conditions, and now they can. It also requires at the VHAs, the hospitals, that healthcare professionals complete these DCQs and that they'll be uploaded to the VA to be used for certain purposes, which would be amazing. Imagine that you file a claim and then they already have the information they need to give you almost an immediate decision. Also, it extends a permanent extension. So at first, the extension was only till it had to be diagnosed and service connected before 2021. And then for some of them, it got extended to 2026. The new law says anytime that you have been diagnosed with any of these presumptive illnesses, there is no expiration for these conditions, and that you can claim them anytime after service. It also removes the requirement for some of the conditions that had the rule that had to manifest to a degree of 10% or more for illnesses. So this is also a huge change because it manifests to a degree of 10%. You would not be able to be service connected for it. Now you can be service connected at even 0%. Therefore, if it gets worse in the future, you would still be service connected for it and be able or be eligible for a higher rating. So again, the PACT Act adds Egypt, Yemen, and Lebanon and Jordan to the qualifying locations for the Southwest Asia theater of operations. So we're assuming that's still after September 19, 2001 expected. We'll have to see what VA puts out for guidance for them. It could be earlier. They could get this. And then for radiation, it obviously does not apply to a lot of veterans, so we're just going to quickly touch on it. But these 4 locations and situations were added to the presumptive list. So if you read through this and these apply to you or you were serving in these areas during times, it is possible that you could have presumptive service connection for radiation exposures and the conditions and diseases that are associated with those. And then for eligibility for radiation exposures, you have to have an illness that is on the list of illnesses, like we said on the previous slide. And then the doctors say it is more likely or not caused by your exposure to radiation, and that the illness started within the certain period as outlined by the 38 CFR. And then again, this is not new. Worth putting in the last presumptive slides that we did. We did not touch on radiation, so we thought it would be worth just notifying and putting it out there. You never know who it can reach.
All right, guys. So regarding Camp Lejeune, I've got a video out on my YouTube channel, so be sure to go to that video. It's got a little bit more in depth, but we're just going to touch a little basis on it because it is in the PACT Act. So the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, also known as the CLJA, was enacted on August 10th, 2022 in the PACT Act. And basically, if you served over there, whether you were military, whether you were an employee, whether you were a family, you can actually sue the government for the contamination of the water. You have to have been at least 30 days within August 1953 through December of 1987 and didn't receive a dishonorable discharge. So next slide. So these are the areas where the Camp Lejeune areas, and it's not just the actual base in of itself. There are surrounding areas as well. The video I did is very self-explanatory regarding the additional areas. So be sure to look at that. The presumptive conditions for Camp Lejeune, you must have a diagnosis of one or more of these conditions. The list here is basically what has been finally passed through the PACT Act. So if you have one of these and you were in that area within the at least 30 days from that time frame, you can actually look to sue the government. And what I want to kind of tell you, it's not a class action lawsuit. It's like a massive tort claim. So where a class action lawsuit is a class of people, this is more of an individual. And you can actually be service connected and still sue the government and still get compensated. And again, in the video, it's very self-explanatory, but we just kind of wanted to touch bases on the Camp Lejeune portion of it in here because it's noteworthy. I know there's been a lot of veterans over the years that have been trying to get something passed and it has not. But do remember that the enactment date of August 10th, 2022, you have 2 years. So that means you have till August 10th, 2024 to bring suit. And then veterans and family members and employees covered for health care, yes. Veterans who served Camp Lejeune or near the river for at least 30 cumulative days, again, between 1953 and 1987, can get health care benefits. And the VA may pay you back for your out-of-pocket health care conditions. And these are the healthcare and reimbursement conditions. You can see the list is pretty extensive. Bladder cancer, breast cancer. I'm not going to read them all, but you can go back and look at this video and get the list as well.
Right, and we'll put this on when we post the FAQ on the Facebook page. We'll also put where you can go to file these claims and for reimbursement or disability compensation.
Yeah, and the video I have out there too has all the information in the description, all the links, all the information to all the forms for all of this information as well.
Great, thank you, Steph.
You're welcome.
So how to file your PACT Act claim. So it's really simple. If you have not filed a claim before for a condition that falls under PACT Act, what you will do is you will file, much like you would for any original disability claim, you will file a 526EZ, and it will be like a new claim for compensation. The VA has recommended that when you are put in what you're claiming, that you put something to the effect of, I have COPD due to my service in Southwest Asia, in parentheses, PACT Act. Anything that you can do to ensure the proper processing of your claim is appreciated, although you do have the claims processors looking for these specific conditions and these specific claims to come through to make sure they're routed appropriately. So again, for something that you haven't claimed before, 526EZ, if you have filed a compensation claim for anything regarding PACT Act and you have been denied in the past, you will want to file a VA form 20 TAC 0995, which is a supplemental claim. In regards to the PACT Act, you do not, if it's been more than a year, you do not need to submit new relevant evidence, because the new relevant evidence would actually be the change in law. So you don't have to include any additional information, which is why it's really helpful if you annotate PACT Act on your form. And then of course, if you have the current claim pending, VA is currently screening the claims for this, and if they find that the decision cannot be made till they're given the go-ahead to rate these claims, then they'll put your claim on hold. All right, and how does the PACT Act affect Vietnam veterans? So this is a huge change. Steph, are you gonna run with this?
Sure, I can run with this.
Great.
So the Agent Orange locations, again, I've got another great video out for this on the YouTube. It includes Agent Orange. Basically, they added these additional areas and times. So the specific area, the specific time frame, if you were in those areas and this PACT Act bill passed it, then you are eligible for presumptive due to the Agent Orange locations.
Right, and I would love to add that prior in Thailand and especially, well, Thailand and Korea, that it was very specific what VA was allowed to grant. For example, in Thailand, you had to be a specific job that patrolled the perimeter of a certain base or bases to be service connected for Agent Orange. The PACT Act removes this requirement and allows for many of these bases, if you served upon them, for you to be presumptively granted conditions that are linked to Agent Orange. And this is a huge change that has been a long time coming and very welcomed by, I'm sure, many, many veterans.
So the eligibility for Agent Orange, eligible for VA disability benefits based on exposure to Agent Orange. You may be eligible for the VA disability benefits if you meet both of these requirements. You have a health condition that was caused by the exposure to Agent Orange and next slide.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steph.
Okay.
It's basically if you served in one of the areas that
there's no, okay. I thought
in the time frames. Yeah. We were just trying not to shoot up too many.
Okay. So basically, if you had the exposure and you were in those areas at those locations and times.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then, of course, when talking about Agent Orange, NEMR claims are always worth mentioning. So VA has added 2 new presumptives for Agent Orange, and they are hypertension and monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. What this means is that in regards to NEMR, if you have claimed one of these conditions before in the past and you have been denied, an automatic review should be triggered by the VA, and you should be receiving a letter in the mail saying that a special review is being conducted of your file based on the stipulations of the NEMR court order. And oftentimes this means that conditions, even though VA has only recognized hypertension, I mean, President Biden signed this into law August 10, 2022. Hypertension could potentially, under the NEMR stipulation and court order, be granted back as far as 1985 if you were previously denied for it. So you should be looking for those letters in the mail. VA usually sends out a huge batch that you're tracking. Find out if you're not sure. Feel free to submit a 0995 if you have been previously denied, or a 586B if you have not claimed this condition before. And then, of course, make sure you file within 1 year of the anticipated law change, which would be August 10th, to ensure that you're in receipt of the earliest effective date if you have not filed a claim.
And I'll just inject here that if you have to ask what a monoclonal gammopathy is, You probably do.
You probably don't.
Very rare.
I don't even know.
Okay, and then for service-connected deaths, I'm going to turn it over to Steph because she did a really good video on this already.
Yeah, so basically, this is really good for survivors of either spouse or family members per the PACT Act. They passed recently. The veteran service falls into one of the expanded exposure populations, and there's evidence to indicate the veteran's death was caused by or secondary to one of the existing or newly established presumptive conditions associated with that toxic exposure. There's evidence indicating that the principal or contributory cause of the veteran's death is or secondary to one of the newly established presumptive conditions, and the veteran's service meets the current or expanded exposure population criteria is associated with the presumptive condition. There's a specific allegation of the eligibility by the claimant under the PACT Act, and the claim otherwise raises the question as to whether the PACT Act may affect eligibility and allows for evaluation. So it's actually something really good for the survivors of, unfortunately, the veterans that have passed due to the presumptive condition. And if I'm correct, the death has to be on the death certificate as well, right? The death has to have been right? Doesn't the
it usually is a slam dunk if it is, but generally that's a good rule of thumb, of course. Yes.
Just like for the DIC benefits, right? Death indemnity compensation. The service.
Right. So it's very similar, right?
Yeah.
And then if they were denied service connected, if the veteran who passed away was denied service connected death for something that is now considered under the PACT Act, the survivors can request a reevaluation now.
Yeah.
All right. So when will I have a decision on my PACT Act claim?
That's been asked a lot.
It's been asked a lot, and it's a great question. So basically, a part of the PACT Act was also hiring more VA doctors, specialists, claim processors, allowing those who know best to rewrite the regulations or amend the regulations and everything that entails. So although the PACT Act passed in August, VA has publicly announced that they won't start processing PACT Act claims until January of 2023. Anybody filing for a PACT Act condition should anticipate a little bit of a backlog, especially starting out. VA is trying to reduce this backlog by ordering exams or doing development, anything that they can do to shorten the wait time so that when they're able to process these claims, they're able to get the decision makers decisions, not have to do any development or send for exams or anything of that nature.
So basically January 2023.
That's what VA is saying right now. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
So since the PACT Act was passed, VA has reported that over almost 500,000 total claims had been received by VA by the end of October, early November of 2022. So this hiring vamp they're doing and stuff, that is to help too. So I mean, know that they're working on it and they're trying to get decisions out there as quick as possible. And then how long do you have to file your PACT Act claim? Well, to preserve your effective date, so President Biden signed the PACT Act into law August 10, 2022. We anticipate that will be the effective date for these new presumptives, something to do with PACT Act, but we can't be assured until VA publishes those into laws and regulations.
And something else I want to interject here. There's a lot of questions to go on about, hey, I filed this years ago, or I filed this last year, I was denied. Am I going to get that effective date? The answer is no. The PACT Act bill was enacted on August 10th, 2022. You're not going to get an effective date of 2016 for something that was denied that is now in the PACT Act bill. Just making that clear, because people think that they're going to go back 10 years, 5 years. So you're now able and eligible because of the PACT Act to file for it. So that's where the date will, I just want to put that up because a lot of people ask that question.
And it will depend if the VA decides to make it or Congress decides to make it like liberalize in law. Some of the context in the actual laws that they wrote suggest maybe they may, which means that an effective date maybe a year prior to the August 10th sign date may be possible. But until a VA puts out those regulations, it's really impossible to know. So we'll just kind of like have to accept August 10th, 2022 as the tentative effective date for all these processes.
Yeah.
So if you are already receiving benefits for one of the PACT Act conditions, do you need to file a new claim? No. So unless your condition is worsened, veterans who are already service connected for any of the PACT Act presumptive conditions such as asthma or sinusitis or the rare respiratory cancers need not file a new claim related to that illness unless their illness has worsened, because you won't get an early effective date like Steph just described.
You just file for an increase.
Right. If you need an increase, go ahead. Yes, file. But you're not going to get service connected any earlier. And then again, what will my PACT Act claim effective date be? So right now we're kind of projecting or speculating that it's going to be August 10th, 2022, which is the date that President Biden signed the PACT Act into law. However, this is not concrete. We saw that when Congress signed Parkinsonism, hypothyroidism, and bladder cancer into law, the effective date was actually 3 days after Congress actually signed it. I wish I could tell you the 100% specifics that come with that, way above my pay grade or anything I do. We're just going to have to wait for VA to come out with the direction on it, which hopefully will be soon, because we're in November and we're supposed to start getting decisions on our claims come January.
Yep.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention is scams and frauds. So like everything else in this world, there are people who want your money. And we see this a lot with Camp Lejeune, or even people trying to solicit PACT Act claims, or they see you're a veteran and they're just trying to get your time. They're trying to get your money. Please look for accredited individuals to assist you with your claims. Look for a good VSO to help you with your claims. If you're not sure, ask. If you call VA, they can tell you representatives in your area that are accredited. I will, with everything else that I upload in the post with the links that are associated with this presentation, I will also upload the flyer that VA sent out for scams and fraud, including spoofing of phone numbers and sending false emails, email phishing, and everything of that nature. Just be wary and ensure, like, VA employees will not generally call you unless they do a couple of things. They're going to verify one or two pieces of information. Last four of your social security number, verify your address, verify your birthday. They're going to want at least two pieces of information, and then they're going to read you a blurb. I'm not going to tell you what the blurb is, but they're going to read you a blurb. And if they don't read you a blurb, guess what? It's probably not a VA, and they may be suspended. And you are well within your rights in asking them to call you back and requesting that information, and then you can call the VBA number that ends in 1000 and verify that it was a VBA employee that called you. Please be careful and make sure that you secure your benefits, and then you don't give anybody extra authorization to access your things, your money, your information.
Scams. That's what you talked about. Yeah.
Yep, and that was it. So yeah, so yes, always
Thank you.
presentations. And so I hope that those listening definitely got something from the presentation or answered some questions. And as always, we're available for questions. Steph?
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put the questions in the comment section. If have further questions, like Jackie was saying, and you need to reach out to us, you can always send an email to our email, and it's up there, flashed up there at VACVHV@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to try and answer questions. I know I get a lot of questions in the Facebook Messenger, and I'm starting to kind of shove those over into email. So, because it's hard to answer questions in a messenger. But again, if you got any other questions or anything, you can always rewatch this PACT Act as well. Like I said, I've got the PACT Act YouTube video. I've got the Camp Lejeune one. We've got this one, and we have the one from a couple weeks ago that we did on Gore, and informational videos out there. VACVHV@gmail.com. And I believe we had one question that was not related to the PACT Act, but if anybody has any questions, throw them out now. We'll take the questions, and once we're done with questions, then we're done. So I think we did have one question from Donna.
And we apologize for the echoing and the little whatever. Steph and I are starting to get real windy around here. We're both in Florida, and we have Tropical Storm Nicole coming bearing down on us. So we decided to proceed with this, but it's obviously given us just a little bit of technical difficulty.
We already went through Ian, so why not go through Nicole?
Yeah, so thank you so much for bearing with us.
All right, so Donna, sorry, appeals waiting to be sent to a judge. If it gets remanded back to the VARO, is there a risk that the claims that are static allowing P&T can be re-examined for P&T status? That's a mouthful. What is the claim for, Donna? I think I know because we know each other personally, so I'm going to go ahead and blurt it out. I believe her husband is under for IU, individual unemployability. So I think that's what it is. And if I'm correct, and then Jackie can jump in too, but anytime you go for IU, they always look at the disability or disabilities that you're claiming are preventing you from gainfully being employed. So they're going to look at the disability to also see about the unemployability. But I think her question also is here, the other disabilities that maybe have nothing to do with IU, would they be looked at as well? What's your thoughts, Jackie?
It's possible, especially if you claimed IU to all your service-connected disabilities. Again, I know we have touched on this before. VA is not trying to reduce or sever your disabilities. It's a lot of work. They don't want to do it. If they do it, it's because they found it, and they have to because they have quality that they have to go with. So yes, it depending on what you're filing and how you're filing it, yes. It could, without knowing the specific circumstances of your case, I can't really give you a definitive answer. But if you claim that condition is part of what considers you as unemployable, it's more likely that it will be looked at. But you also have to consider other things, like have you had the rating for X amount of time? Are you over this certain age?
And I want to touch on that too, since we're talking, and I'm going to go on a tangent here, but your disability is only protected under the protected rule ratings. It's the 5, 10, and 20 years. That is how your disability is protected. To go even deeper, every time you file for an increase and you get that increase percentage, effective date starts for that. Now you still have the old one. So let's say you're 30% for PTSD since 2015, and then you get 50% in 2020. Well, the 30 still is at 2013, but the 50 is now at 2020. So keep that in mind, veterans, that your disability ratings are protected under the rule ratings. Please stop listening to people that say, oh, once you hit 55, you're good, or oh, once you've got P&T, you're good. While you are permitted in total disabilities, if you open up any claims or you go and file stuff, it does allow the VA, the rater, to look at everything. So I just want to throw that out because I see that a lot, that people think they're protected, and
but it is under certain circumstances, like at a certain age, like it is not as, you're not really supposed to reduce, or if you're only rated the scheduler minimum of 10 or 20% for a condition, you're not supposed to try to reduce that. So there's a lot of little caveats for that, but like Steph said,
yeah,
everything's looked at. It's just if it's relevant or if you qualify for that book.
I think we've got another question. All right, Laughing Guy. I like that name. I did apply for the PACT Act, completed all my CNP stuff, and I'm awaiting a decision. How long is the wait? Completed CNP beginning of September. Well, I guess Jackie kind of touched on it. They're really not even kind of considering them for, I think, reading purposes till January of 2023. Correct, Jackie?
Correct. So if the rare exception that somebody got a PACT Act claim, there has been no guidance out to anybody to rate PACT Act claims. There is no definitive effective dates or regulations to cite or anything of that nature. So if you've gotten a claim, if you've gotten a rate-in, it's wrong. Or it's wrong that you've received a rate-in because it's not authorized. Somebody messed up.
Interesting.
But yes, so it will be, they're going to start looking at them in January of 2023. My guess is that they're going to release the new CFRs and regulations governing all this stuff at the beginning of January. And then when they come back from like the New Year's holiday, they're going to hit the road running, and they're just going to start slaying these claims. But I would not expect a claim decision before January. There's a little bit of a backlog now, but they have been hiring, training to make sure that they have the personnel to handle this extra backlog in claims. So to give you a definitive, how long will my claim take? I don't know. It sounds like your claim is ready to rate if you've already had your compensation and pension exams. So that's fantastic. But I guess it will be rated when there's somebody available to rate it based on where you are in the queue.
All right, next question from Mary Hall. What is the fastest time you all seen someone get a CNP exam? My hubby came in on Sunday for varicose veins, and he received a call today for LHI and has CNP on Monday. Pretty fast.
Oh, that's awesome, Mary. Well, good for him. Wow, right? Great.
Wow.
It really depends. It depends if they have a flash. Are they homeless? Are they hardship? Do they have a Purple Heart? Are they terminal? Those things will usually expedite a claim. If it's something simple for a claim like that, it could be, hey, you got lucky. Like it just got moved through the process. There's really no rhyme or reason. Sometimes it's just luck of the draw or luck of the process. There's no development needed. So obviously they schedule the exam and it happened that fast. So I'm really happy to hear that happened so fast for your husband. That's amazing.
I've seen claims. I've seen some people they submitted, like Jay, he submitted his, and I think like a week later he had his CNP exam.
Well, he had a flash on his.
I put a claim in on December the 12th. Had my CNP done on the 27th and was rated on January the 13th.
I mean, I have no flash on mine, and I've gone for CNP exams and had a rate in a week later, which is amazing. there's just really, and that's why we say we don't know how long your claim's going to take. There's
Right.
so many mitigating factors, and it depends on the queues and who has to process, flags, flashes, like mitigating factors. It really is just.
That's pretty fast though.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All right, so you're welcome, Laughing Guy. And we're shocked. I want to say I'm not shocked about the CMP exams because I've been hearing that a lot lately. I just like you said, I guess it depends on the particular disability, how many you file at once, and what your status is too. So, Peggy, I know, but Peggy, you're waiting on your situation's a lot different. You've been in appeals. Peggy's been in appeals for a long time, by the way. And she went to the judge several months ago and she's waiting.
Okay, well, BVA takes quite a bit longer than the other appellate reviews.
Yeah. So I know your frustration, Peggy, because you're still in the legacy appeals. You are not.
No.
Yes. She's not in the AMA. So I know.
Peggy, they're slaying. I know this is probably not going to make you feel better, but they're slaying legacy appeals right now. Last year, they slayed hundreds of thousands of legacy appeals. They have made it a priority. They have the AMA DROCs, the decision review offices, to like the current appeal offices under AMA assisting with the backlog for legacy. So just hang in there. They're trying to clear this backlog with them as fast as possible so that they can fully move to AMA too. So this is closure for the VA, closure for the veterans clearly. So just hang in there. Hopefully you'll hear something soon.
I'm sorry. I know, Peggy, you're stressed. I know, but it's coming. I promise. And I think we had another question or a follow-up, question from Laughing Guy. He's like, so the dates for compensation for the PACT Act will be at best January 1. No, what we're saying is the PACT Act was enacted August 10th, 2022. As far as all of us know right now, that seems to be the date that we all think it's going to be. Now, Jackie said earlier, it could go back maybe before then. It could go back and forward, but the bill was not signed into law until August 10th, 2022. So that's kind of where it's driving from, Laughing Guy. It's not January 1st. She was just stating that they're really not going to be starting to process the PACT Act claims until after the new year.
Or make decisions because they're already processing them. And like I talked about, sometimes there's liberalizing law that they can go back. It remains to be seen if they're going to allow the conditions under PACT Act to be that. So for all intents and purposes, right now, based on the information we have, we can best assume that the effective date for your claim, because you filed it within 1 year of the change in law, will be August 10th, 2022, even though VA won't start making decisions on PACT Act claims until January of 2023.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll be back paid from either the date of the law change, or if they determine liberalizing law, maybe a little bit further, but at least the date of the law change.
Yeah. I mean, this is a huge undertaking because it does open up doors for a lot of veterans that have been denied for years for these conditions that now are afforded the opportunity to finally get them presumptive. So
Absolutely.
Just got to hang in there, guys. I know it's stressful, but at the end of the day, hurry up and wait. That's the military.
I know. Isn't this what they trained us for?
Right?
Right. We trained us for the VA, guys.
All right. So if we don't have any other questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We'll do the giveaway, and I know Chris has got the spin. I didn't quite get that last time, so I gotta figure it out. Here he comes. All right,
guys.
Yay, we got.
Here we go.
So
thank you all for joining us. It was a pleasure. Invite your friends, invite everybody else. We got the email. We got the YouTube page. We got the Facebook page. A lot of ways to get a hold of us. So please hit that up. So here we go. I'm going to try and share a screen so we can do this drawing. How do I do this? Right there. I want that one. Did anyone see it?
No.
No.
No?
You have to share, I think, the screen, that little like,
Right.
there you go. Hold on, it's coming.
How about that? You see it?
Yep.
Yep.
10 entries.
10
All right.
entries.
Here we go. Happy birthday to all the Marines out there. 247 years. Jackie, you're a Marine. Happy birthday, sister. So here we go. We're going to draw.
Are we drawing?
Is it going?
No. Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Hey, laughing guy.
Ah!
Yay.
All right. So
All
laughing
right.
guys
So,
got a shirt.
laughing guy, if you could please email us your address, and
Guys.
we'll send you one of our VA Claims Veteran Helping Veterans t-shirts.
Awesome t-shirts.
Yep. There you go. See?
Wore mine to the VA today, and 2 people took pictures of my back.
There we go,
Yes.
guys. So, laughing guy, congratulations. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And send us that email
quickie.
with your address, and we'll get you that shirt out pronto.
Just a quickie. Mary, our next live is just going to be a live Q&A. It's going to be November 30th. We normally do it every 2 weeks, but Chris and I are going to be on vacation for the next actual 2 weeks one. So we're going to do it on November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And also happy Veterans Day to everybody on Friday. Enjoy your day. Thank you for your sacrifice with your families as well. And enjoy the rest of your week. And we will talk to everybody soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.